Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Welcome to TALRadio. This is me, Saankhya, hosting through the interview today. Whether it's through a small act of kindness or a major donation, philanthropy has the power to transform lives and create a ripple effect of positive change. Philanthropy is a testament to the best of human nature, and it reflects our desire to help others and create a better world for everyone. But sometimes there might be a slight threat that philanthropists could be taken for granted and their charity never ends up to the destination. So Silicon Valley Community Foundation comes into picture right at this point and serves as an intermediary for philanthropists to non-profitable organizations in areas such as education, health, environment, and social justice. So today, to explore more about this wonderful organization, we have the Executive Vice President herself, Mrs. Judi Powell, to guide us through. And as Executive Vice President, Philanthropic Partnerships for SVCF, Judy leads the team that guide individual, family, and corporate donors to achieve meaningful impact. And she helps ensure that SVCF provides a world class donor experience that connects donors to communities in the most pressing needs. And without further ado, right now, let's welcome Judy Powell onto the show. Hi, Judy.
Hi, it's good to be
How
here.
you
Thanks for
doing?
inviting us.
Thank you. Thank you for taking time and giving us the interview. So, how's everything?
Everything's good. It's good. I'm up bright and early, and I'm a morning person, so that's great.
That's wonderful. So, I'd like to know more about you before we start. Like, what is your background and what exactly motivated you to pursue a career in philanthropy?
Sure. I've worked in philanthropy for most of my career, so more than 20 years. Most of that work has been here in the Bay Area. And, what drew me to philanthropy originally was a chance, I saw it as a way to increase educational opportunity for all children. I grew up in a family where education was really important. Both of my parents were teachers early in their careers, and they taught us that getting an education was a very important thing. And I knew that. I experienced it as an adult and wanted to bring that opportunity to other children. So my first job in philanthropy was as an educational program officer at a community foundation here in the Bay Area. And even though I've drifted away from education as a sole focus of my work, it's still very important to me to be able to support children learning in some way through the work that I do.
That's wonderful. And that's some great energy to start the show with. So, tell us more about SVCF and a little bit about how it came to be established.
Sure. Silicon Valley Community Foundation, or SVCF, which is a mouthful, is one of more than 800 community foundations in the country. And like community foundations, we are dedicated to improving the lives of residents in a particular geographic region. For us, that's Silicon Valley, or San Mateo County and Santa Clara County. So that's essentially what we do. Our mission is to ensure that all residents, opportunity and equity for all residents in the region. We were formed in 2007 from the merger of two other community foundations, Peninsula Community Foundation and Community Foundation Silicon Valley. But we are going strong since 2007. I think what's important to know about our work is we work to connect people, ideas, resources, as we work with nonprofits, we work with donors, we work with government partners, we work with corporations, and we all try to come together with a shared purpose and looking for solutions to the toughest problems in our region.
Fantastic. So, what do you think is Silicon Valley Community Foundation's strongest value is, and how is the foundation working to maintain it?
Yeah, I think our strength, like other community foundations, is we have an endowment that we use to support the local community. We also use resources from the endowment to support strengthening the nonprofit sector through capacity building and policy advocacy. In addition, we work with more than 1,000 donors who have donor advised funds, or DAFs, as we refer to them. And we work with corporate clients, about 65 of corporate clients who have corporate advised funds. And that just increases the resources that we have to support community needs. Our donors, our individual, family, and corporate donors support causes locally and nationally and around the world. But we work with them and try to encourage them to support needs in the communities where we live.
Wonderful. So how does SPCF decide which causes and organizations to support with its grant making?
Yeah, there are a couple of ways I could answer that question because it's a long answer. But I'll start with a little bit of a description of Silicon Valley and what the needs are here, because that's really our North Star. It's our guiding principle for all that we do. I don't know, many of your listeners who may not be from the area may associate Silicon Valley with wealth, opportunity, success. And for many people who live here, that's true. But for many others, it's not. The disparities are very great here. And there's a lot of community need that's not always visible. Just as a way to illustrate what the need looks like in our community, many families have two adults that are both working. They may have one or more children, and they still find it hard to make ends meet. There's a report, the Silicon Valley Index, that reports on the health of the region, and the most recent edition showed that the wealth gap is actually widening, and that it does fall along racial disparities. Black and Latinx residents are much more likely to be at the poverty level or below than white residents. So anyway, a family that two jobs making it hard to make ends meet. One of them loses a job, or one of them is sick and can't work. A car breaks down. They're very close to living on the edge and being at risk of food insecurity or even housing insecurity. And so it's this disparity that really guides the work of the foundation addressing this disparity. And so we have prioritized from our endowment funding to support reducing those disparities in our community and doing it in such a way that brings those communities that are most affected to the table to define the problems and the challenges, and also to define the solutions. And I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that, and give some examples. But really, to answer your question about, how do we decide, we've really set this issue of disparities in the Valley as a priority for our grant making. And that is our endowment grant making. Our donors that I mentioned, those 1,000 plus donors and corporate donors we work with, can choose to give wherever they like, whether it's regionally or beyond. But it's our objective and our charge to really educate them about these needs at home and encourage them to support those needs as well.
Wonderful. So what role do you see SPCF playing in addressing some of the biggest challenges facing by society today, like climate change, inequalities, and political polarization? So how is it helping?
How is it helping? I can share a couple of success stories or examples of what we're funding. We have we support local journalism, for example. We've made grants to local journalism outlets, mostly telling the stories of under reported communities of color, exposing issues like around community safety, for example, or the impact of climate change on those communities. Our community just went through a terrible round of storms and flooding affecting communities of color. So getting those voices, it's just an example of some of the funding that we've directed to address these issues head on through community education and journalism in that case. We also supported, there's an organization in San Jose called Lead Filipino, and it's a movement building, a power building organization. So Lead Filipino, which received a grant from our endowment, $100,000 over 2 years, works with community to define the challenges that matter to them and devise solutions. So just the type of approach that I described is important to the foundation. So they have programs that encourage civic participation, whether that's voting, showing up at city council meetings, school board meetings to express the concerns and needs of their families and children. They also operate leadership development programs to build and grow leaders who might someday serve on local government, but certainly can organize communities to get out and talk about issues like community safety or climate change or education, things that are vitally important to those communities. So, we see this as a long haul. These are not problems that can be addressed overnight. There are also not problems that we can address alone, either as a foundation or even the philanthropic sector. So, we're in it for the long haul, and are starting to see some successes.
That's wonderful. That's really amazing. I'm amazed to know so many good things that you're doing. So I'd like to know how an organization can apply for a grant.
Okay. Through our endowment, we have several issue areas that we support and have open requests for proposals throughout the year. So journalism is one of those, housing related, immigration, so look on our website and you'll get a nonprofit can look on our website and find out what the exact schedule is for applying for a grant. We also have 3 strategic initiatives that the foundation supports through its endowment, and those are housing, financial security, and early childhood education. Those are by invitation only, but there's a lot of information again on our website to see what the guidelines are for those, and nonprofits are welcome to reach out to our staff, and we're happy to answer questions.
Okay. So tell us something about how a potential philanthropist or a donor can reach out to you. And is there any process that you guys guide them through, like some programs or strategies that you offer them?
Yeah, no, we love working with our donors. One of the things I don't think I mentioned is 85% of the assets that we have under management are in the form of donor advised funds or corporate advised funds. So that's a really important resource for our community that we would love to tap into. So how do we work with our donors? If someone comes to us, there's an intake process, an education process about, who we are and what we do and what services we can provide. But in addition, there's advising. I work with a team of philanthropy advisors that work one-on-one with donors, if that's what they would like, to let them know about community needs, nonprofits that they might be interested in supporting. And that's a really, really important part of our work. Because it's a way to get more resources to the community than we can do with our endowment alone. So I'll give you a couple of examples of how that works. So as I mentioned, there was, earlier this year, terrible flooding, terrible rainstorms, throughout the state. And our region was hit pretty hard. I think the communities of color, poor communities, low-income communities particularly, were hurt by this. our foundation responded, as we have in the past, to other natural disasters by forming a disaster relief fund. And we put the word out. People were calling us, our donors were calling us, DAF holders, saying, where can we give? The general public was calling us, and the nonprofits were calling us and saying, we need help. We need to help our community people. So we set up a fund. We're able to raise close to $1 million pretty quickly. And then in turn, those funds are distributed through the nonprofits to help families, whether it's to replace things that have been flooded or to pay for groceries, childcare. And the vast majority of that money some came from our endowment, but the vast majority came from donors in the community. And so being able to share with them in real time community needs, they lead with generosity. And it's just so critical to what we can do in the community. I could give you, a number of other examples. Second Harvest Food Bank approached us recently, similarly, anticipating a real funding gap as COVID SNAP benefits were coming to an end in March. And we reached out to our donors who had supported Second Harvest Food. It's a food bank, Second Harvest in the past, and to other donors who we thought would be interested. We're able to, help Second Harvest close their funding gap in short order. So that's how we work with donors. We advise them, we inform them, we educate them. We also help them to implement the philanthropic visions that they come to us with, either by just executing the grants that they indicate they want to make, but also by introducing them to new nonprofits that are aligned with their interests.
Wonderful. Tell us about some of your biggest challenges and how you deal with them, how you overcome them.
Yeah. I think I've touched on them because, we're tackling these big issues as you acknowledged, the disparities, the wealth disparities touch on almost every issue, if not every issue area that we're concerned with, whether it's affordable housing, food security, early childhood education, it runs the gamut. And the challenge is that these issues are hard, and it's going to take a long time. But we know we're not doing it alone. We're working with partners. And as I said before, we're in it for the long haul. And as importantly, we're approaching the challenges in a way that brings community voice to the table. It's not a top-down approach. It's a grassroots. I don't even want to say bottom up, because it's just all encompassing, bringing community voice, letting them tell us what they need.
Perfect. So finally, before we go, I'd like to ask you a personal question. So tell us one thing about this work that makes you wake up with excitement for the day, and one thing that makes you sleep with satisfaction.
Well, I think that's an easy question. Just what makes me excited, I don't know if it's a morning or night, how I feel these feelings, but, just working for an organization that is committed to advancing the common good. I mean, that's, bottom line, incredibly fulfilling. Whenever I have a chance to talk to nonprofits directly and learn about what they're doing in the community and the impact that they're having, it's amazing. It's humbling. And to work with colleagues who are equally committed and dedicated to moving our community forward. And I would be remiss if I didn't say the donors. They lead with generosity. These are people who've chosen to give, and they don't have to give, but they've made that decision, and that restores my faith in humanity sometimes when other things make me question it. So whether it's getting up in the morning or going to bed at night, it's those are the things that fulfill me in this work.
Wonderful. So we are done with the questions, and thank you so much, Judi, for being on the show. And you're doing a really great job. Really impressive, and please keep the good work up.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for taking so much time. So that was Mrs. Judi Powell, Executive Vice President of Silicon Valley Community Foundation. I hope you find this interview insightful. And for more such interviews, stay tuned to Tal Radio, powered by Touch Your Life Foundation. And this is me, Saankhya, signing off for today. Take care, you all.